I love visiting new cities. One of my favorite trips was to Paris. I went there with my best friend. We saw the Eiffel Tower, walked along the River Seine, and ate delicious French food. Traveling helps me feel happy and free. When I visit new places, I forget about my problems and enjoy the moment. I enjoy walking in old streets, taking photos, and learning about history. My favorite moment was watching the sunset from the top of a hill. We also visited some beautiful museums and small cafes with amazing desserts. The people were very friendly, and I tried to speak some basic French words. I think traveling makes life more exciting. It gives me memories I will never forget. After Paris, I started planning my next adventure. I wanted to visit Italy, especially Rome and Venice. I read about the Colosseum, the beautiful canals, and the tasty Italian pizza. Traveling became my favorite hobby. I began saving money and looking for cheap flights and cozy hostels. I also bought a small notebook where I write about every trip I take. It helps me remember the feelings, the places, and the amazing people I meet. Sometimes I feel nervous before a trip, but after I arrive, I feel so alive and full of energy. Traveling teaches me to be brave and open to new cultures. Every country adds a new story to my life. I learn new words, try new food, and sometimes even get lost in the streets. But that's part of the fun. I'm not just seeing the world, I'm slowly finding myself in it. One day I booked a flight to Italy. When I arrived in Rome, I was so excited. I visited the Colosseum and took many photos. The old buildings and history made me feel like I was in a movie. Then I went to Venice. I loved the canals and small boats. I ate real Italian pizza by the water and watched the sunset. It was peaceful and beautiful. I also met travelers from other countries. We shared our stories and laughed a lot. They gave me new ideas for my next trip. Traveling makes me feel free. Every journey gives me new memories, new friends, and new dreams. After Italy, I visited a small village in the mountains. It was quiet and the people were very kind. I stayed in a little guest house and helped the owner cook local food. At night, I wrote in my notebook and listened to the sound of the wind. I felt grateful for every moment. I knew I wanted to keep traveling for a long time. In the morning, I walked through the village and said hello to the locals. Some of them invited me for tea and told me about their daily life. Even though we spoke different languages, we understood each other with smiles and simple words. Later, I took a long walk in the mountains. The air was fresh, and I could hear the sound of birds and waterfalls. I stopped many times to take photos and enjoy the quiet. That night, I sat near a small fire with other travelers. We talked about the places we had seen and the places we still wanted to go. The sky was full of stars, and I felt so lucky to be there. Traveling shows me that the world is full of kindness, beauty, and surprise. Every trip is a new chapter in my life story, and I can't wait to write the next one. A few weeks later, I traveled to a coastal town by the sea. The weather was warm, and the sound of the waves helped me relax. I spent the days walking on the beach, swimming, and watching boats come and go. I met an old man who sold handmade souvenirs. He told me stories about the sea and his childhood. I bought a small shell necklace to remember that moment. One evening, there was a local festival with music, dancing, and traditional food. Everyone was smiling and enjoying the night. I joined the dance and laughed with people I had never met before. In moments like that, I feel truly connected to the world. I'm not just a tourist. I'm a small part of something much bigger. The next morning, I woke up early and watched the sunrise. The sky changed from dark blue to orange and gold. I sat alone with a cup of coffee, feeling calm and happy. Later that day, I visited a small museum that showed the history of the town. I learned about old ships, fishermen, and how life was many years ago. Before leaving, I wrote one last page in my notebook. I drew a little map, added a photo, and wrote, "Some places stay in your heart forever." After leaving the coastal town, I took a train to the countryside. The ride was peaceful, with green fields, small farms, and animals like sheep and horses along the way. I listened to soft music and looked out the window, enjoying every second. I stayed in a quiet cabin near the woods. There was no Wi-Fi, no TV, just nature. In the mornings, I walked through the forest, and in the evenings, I read a book by a small lamp. One day, I helped a local family harvest vegetables from their garden. They didn't speak much English, but we smiled, pointed, and laughed. They gave me fresh bread, cheese, and a cup of warm soup. I felt so welcome. That night, I sat outside and watched the moon rise over the trees. I felt a deep sense of peace. Travel isn't always about big cities or famous places. Sometimes the quiet moments are the ones we remember the most. Before I left, the children from the family gave me a small drawing they made. It showed a house, a sun, and a happy person with a backpack. I smiled and put it in my notebook. As I packed my bag, I looked around one last time. The smell of fresh air, the sound of birds, and the smiles I had seen were now part of my memory. I whispered, "Thank you," and promised myself to come back one day.